Face Masks at Protests by Alan Stevo. It is said that chanting and congregating can spread germs. Of course it can. There's no activity in life that will not spread germs. Victorian Bifurcation of Life. It is a strange Victorian sentiment in us that seeks to delineate the clean from the dirty. Life has gradients. Not every organism is pathogenic to a human. No pathogenic organism will do harm every time it comes in contact with a human. Life is a balance of risk and reward. Even if we could eliminate biological risk by eliminating all exposure to microorganisms, what trade-offs would need to take place in such an antiseptic world? We know already what havoc antibiotics wreak in man when they are used to create an antiseptic internal environment. We know, too, what havoc cleaning products wreak in man as they are used to create an antiseptic external environment. The research is just beginning to scratch the surface in those areas, but it looks like the Victorian tendencies to draw a clear line between clean and dirty, with all microorganisms placed solidly on the dirty side of that line, is not only poorly informed but also harmful. The microorganisms are a part of us. In our contemporary culture that has oversimplified the concept of majority rule, the notion that our bodies are a majority not human cells, but instead non-human microorganisms, should give pause to those who would draw such a line. The microorganisms, even the pathogenic ones, are a part of our microbiome. That microbiome is arguably a part of us. That microbiome is almost certainly part of what keeps us healthy. The strange reductionist tendency in contemporary Western culture to so stringently divide clean from dirty in a way that is so clearly harmful to the individual human life must be avoided. As we begin to understand that there are little creatures so numerous living in and around us, and as our technology becomes more attuned to identifying them, we must not have a knee-jerk reaction at the sudden awakening to the previously unknown. The primitive nature of knee-jerk reactions. This is the most stultifying primitive approach that people claiming to be educated can have. Jumping to fear is the primary reaction. The knee-jerk jump to fear says little about the data and a great deal about the person choosing to take the jump to fear. Please do everyone a favor and calm down before you attempt to assess the data. If you can't calm down, please do everyone a favor and excuse yourself from having a vociferous opinion on this matter. Just because there's a technology said to be able to sense the presence of COVID-19, just because we have rapid testing, just because we can identify some symptoms, does not make it okay to suddenly blow all manner of life out of proportion because our leadership, governmental and civil, lack the ability to perceive the world in proportion. It is not a lack of scientific knowledge that so disables us in 2020. It is not a lack of data. It is not a lack of study or research. It is a lack of philosophy. It is a lack of thoughtfulness. It is a lack of reason that so disables us. We have easy access to the data. We have little wisdom among our leadership with which to process it. This weird reaction should be no surprise when a society places the asocial nerds of the culture in charge. These are technocrats, brainiacs, and really quite flamboyant folks who would not survive in a more meritocratic environment. How badly can the technocrats screw this up? How badly can they screw things up? 2020 is living proof. And boy, do they hope you don't catch on to what's happening and run them out of town. Do they want all manner of effective protests to come to an end because of COVID? Of course they do. They never wanted to hear your opinions to begin with. The technocrats have such contempt for you and your opinions. They know who should run the world, and it's not you. They're the only ones who should be able to chant and congregate. Only they should be able to approve what messaging is chanted and congregated around. You are not permitted to do so. They have always believed that, and now have a gimmick by which to manipulate you into believing the same and acting accordingly. Whether you believe it or not, the end effect is the same if you follow their edicts. The silencing of you and anyone else who doesn't precisely parrot the prescribed groupthink of the technocrat. Precisely parroting the prescribed groupthink. I do really mean that the parroting must be precise if you intend to go that route. Just look at Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., a lifelong Democratic Party loyalist and almost down-the-line adherent to stated Democratic Party values and technocratic ideals, with one exception. He thinks vaccines should be safety tested. Because of that single divergence from the party line, he is treated as a pariah. RFK Jr. is the finest example of the level of compliance demanded by the American technocratic class. He is a Kennedy and a son of an assassinated attorney general and presidential hopeful, a scion of American royalty. It's hard to be any more party line than him and his entire story, but because of his one divergence, he is treated entirely divergent. The choice is yours. It is your choice whether or not you comply. If you are already a person of spirit and character, how sad for you and those around you, even the world, if you do comply. If you're already a well-programmed and obedient drone, then there's little loss to you, me, or anyone else if you comply. The choice is yours. I know how I have chosen and will continue to choose. I know directly how hundreds and thousands have chosen, and by extrapolation, how millions and globally billions of others have chosen. And that's why I don't care for my own well-being, how you personally choose, because I know there are enough others to replace you if you choose poorly and make yourself into a drone. For you, though, your own well-being, if you want my opinion, which is what you likely want if you picked up this book, you must kick and scream and fight with everything you've got to not become the drone that modernity and its technocrats want you to be. You must instead, at every turn, choose to be the life-affirming you that you can be.